Hello, my name is Teresita, Blanco, the Artsy sister, and today I'm going to read to you The House, and we're in Chapter 4. Chapter 4, Delicia. After the single unfortunate night in Palma, the adults develop an aversion for that house and the mosquito. The most common mosquito found in Cuba is the Aedes Aegypti. Before Carlos J. Finlay, this mosquito was making quite a dent on the Cuban population through the spread of the yellow fever. According to Cuban history, the guy created a vaccine to treat the virus. Yellow fever is no longer a problem for the Cubans. It might be a problem for outsiders who are not vaccinated or who do not descend from somebody who has a resistance to the virus. Despite vaccination, the Cuban government takes its mosquito problem seriously with regular fumigation. Horacio had learned of Finlay while at school. He thought that the man to be quite the trooper for testing the vaccine on himself instead of on another person. He thought about his sister and the experimental treatment she was undergoing. He doubted if the doctor had tried it on themselves before testing it on her. At times he wondered if they had sickened his sister if only to try out their cures. Such types of experimentations are pretty common in countries where human life is not valued. The end justifies the means, for the future is an unpredictable, ephemeral thing. One never knows if the result of the research would just be a large heap of bodies. Whether Francis' speculations were true or not, there was an observable pattern. Whenever the scientists were itching to invent a cure for something, there was suddenly an incident or rise of the malady that they were investigating. Angelica had worked for the research team in the past, but she had turned her back on such unethical wars. One could only see so many fetuses before one's stomach begins to turn. Then again, for most doctors, the patient is seen as an object and not as a person. This subjectivity is a double-edged sword. It helps the doctor keep his head cool while trying to save a life, but it can make it easy for them to snuff that life for the sake of learning. As things stood, the Hippocratic oath was optional. Despite all the mosquito bites, Lucero did not become sick, only very itchy. As for Horacio, he had caught a cold, but was pretending to feel well. He was afraid to go to the doctor, so he pretended that he was alright. On the right back, he breathed through his nose. He pressed with his index finger on his chest to stifle his cough. Eventually, his father's clinical eyes caught the roots, and Horacio was forced to admit that he was not feeling well. When the ride concluded, they returned to the small apartment in Delicia, in Pinar del Rio. Delicia was the neighborhood just beside Isabela la Católica. It was mainly composed of apartment complexes. The name itself means delicacy. Still, there was nothing delicate or delicious about the place. It was just one of those stoic utilitarian buildings. The apartment currently inhabited by the Mason family was on the second floor. The floor was made of fake tiles meant to resemble marble flooring. They had a nice classic checkerboard pattern. It ran through the entire length of the apartment. Aside from the kitchen and the large living room, the place only had 2 bedrooms. With the kids growing, Eduardo had felt that they needed a larger space, so that at least his son could have his own room. Lucero was still at the age where she did not like sleeping alone. As such, she still had her crib in the apartment, even though she was way too big for it. Lucero did not like this apartment. At night, there was a creepy shadow washing over her. She thought it was a ghost, but little did she know that it was her father, making certain that she was still breathing. Sometimes she would close her eye and wait a bit, and she would open them to make certain that the shade had departed her bedside. Only when she was left in peace did she finally manage to fall asleep. As for Angelica, the reason why she wanted to move was because of the windows. They were Louise windows. They were formed by a collection of individual rectangular sheets of glass. They were useful for letting the wind inside the apartment building, but it made Angelica quite paranoid. All that was required to enter the home was removing the glass sheets. This apartment complex had such windows because there was no air conditioner. They could also be kept part way open during the rain to allow air to flow in, while keeping the rain out. In Pinar del Rio, it rained almost every week. Whenever the weatherman predicted any drought, it was a warning sign to prepare for a monsoon. He did not have the best accuracy, but he was well liked by somebody in the TV station, and thus his ineptitude was tolerated. As long as you had good connection, one could keep your job in Cuba even if you were terrible at it. This did not cause too many problems, except for those who were tasked with keeping people alive. More than a couple of bullets had caused some unfortunate soldier life. It was for this reason that Eduardo always watched his nurses like a hawk. Whenever one would say, but I thought, Eduardo would respond by saying, do not think, for you only think on mistakes. One of those silly fools had almost cost his little girl her life. In the end, she only got better when she was transferred to the hospital in Havana. He was harsh but fair. There were no room for fools when there is a person's life at risk. You are either focused while working at a hospital or you're guilty of manslaughter. This is the ideal scenario. Most little accidents went unpunishment. There was no such thing as medical malpractice lawsuit in Cuba during those days. If a person is to take reparation for such a person, the only choice is to take matters into one's hand, or to compel a party member to do justice on your behalf. Most of Cubans ran on favors and coercion. True power was based on who you knew or who you were related to. The closer one's family ties were to the head of the state, the better off you tended to live. Still, such connections did not guarantee you a good life. The Mason family was well connected because Angelica's grandfather, he had connections to the army, and he was in charge of one of the secret caches of guns. Should Cuba ever be invaded, the militia would mobilize using those caches. Since taking power over Fidel Castro had always been preparing for war. As for Eduardo, he had helped deliver many babies for top party members. Some had spent decades without conceiving, but Eduardo had provided experimental treatment for their problem. It was through one of those party members that the Mason family permuted to the last house they would ever inhabit in Cuba. It was early June. The sky was cloudy and the wind was strong. Had the weathermen bothered to even try a little hard, the people in Delicia would have known that Hurricane Alberto was coming. Preparing for a hurricane in Cuba just meant boarding up and trying to stock up on drinkable water from the fountain. Sometimes when the light went out, the water was cut as well. Due to food rationing, one could not stock up on provisions. Eduardo was looking at the new house. As for Angelica, she was busy with her shift in the clinic at San Juan Martinez. Lucero was playing on the railing. Meanwhile, Elena was keeping an eye on the children. Lucero was looking down, trying to peer over the edge. From time to time, Efracio would tug at her dress to remind her to stay on the other side of the fence. Lucero was practicing speeding. Up until now, she could only drool downwards. Thus, angling her speed towards passing people was proving rather difficult. Since she kept missing, she did not want to fall. She sat down and she squished her face against the railing. This helped her somewhat, but she ended up squeezing her head too far inside. With her head stuck, she frowned. Efracio looking up asked, do you need help? Mind your business, said Lucero annoyed. She thought a moment and she tried placing her head in the same way it had come inside. After pulling at it, she got herself out of that sticky situation, but only after bruising the side of her forehead. With her heart beating, she went to do something else with her time. As for Elena, she was in the middle of a consultation. It was Saturday, and some of the working girls were visiting with questions about love and life. Eduardo, who was returning home, noticed a line of ladies and a few gentlemen. He hid by the stairs and overheard the conversation. He then appeared to them and said, I can throw you the cards as well. Really, Dr. Mason? I never would guess, said the lady. Eduardo brought out from his pocket a simple deck of playing cards. He always carried for his prank. Without asking the lady any question, he threw the cards, and he said a lot of personal facts about her life that he had overheard while hiding in the stairs. This created the illusion that he was a psychic. When the lady left, Irina, who was sitting onto the judge, she said to him, you're an ass. Did the cards tell you that? Asked Eduardo, laughing. How was the house? Asked Irina, changing the subject. It was spacious. It's spacious. It has a large concrete garden, three bedrooms. It has a lot of original furniture, including an air conditioner. Now that is a rare find indeed, said Irina, smiling. What is an air conditioner? Asked Lucero. It's like a very strong fan. It makes the entire room very cold. How cold? asked Lucero. As cold as a refrigerator, said Irina. That does sound rather pleasant, said Lucero, smiling. Eduardo came closer, and he asked while holding Lucero's head. Lucero, what happened to your head? Nothing, said Lucero proudly. It doesn't look like nothing, insisted her father. Eduardo did not bother to ask Francie about his sister Bruce. He knew that he would never that he never tattled on her. Changing the subject, Lucero said, "What are the wise men bringing to me this year?" In Cuba, the children waited for the 3 wise men instead of Santa Claus. They each brought 3 presents for the children. Depending on the budget of the family, they usually bought one. Every year, Lucero had received 3 presents. One of them she was sporting. It was a 1920s dance dress with green balls. It was a little big for her, but the original of the dress had been extremely petite for her age. Aside from the large shoulders and the fact that the dress was as low as her knees, it was a good fit. The dress had originally belonged to Lucero's great-great-great-grandmother. She had been alive up until recently. She had sewn for the little girl her baptism dress. It too was preserving the great arts. Since new staff rarely entered the island, it was common for families to try to preserve clothing items that were in good condition. This is how this 1920s party dress had been handed down to Lucero. Eduardo came to the rocking chair and he sat down. He gestured to Lucero and she sat on his lap. Looking at her benevolently, he asked, after giving her a hug and a kiss on the cheek, "What would my little princess desire?" She thought a moment and then she said, "I want a Barbie doll." "Barbie, never heard of her," said Eduardo, pouting his lips. She was one of those dolls because the neighbor's bride did not let her play with her doll. I can't blame her. Lucero never returned any toys that her brother lent her. How long has the video been going?
You have 3 minutes left.
Alright. Lucero left her father's life. She returned to the balcony by now. By now, she had managed to learn how to modulate her speed. Eventually, the little girl with the Barbie made an appearance. She was walking out towards the back. With a careful, calibrated speed, Lucero spat on her hair. The girl, feeling something fall on the back of her, made her imperceptibly pass her hand over. When she saw that it was speed, she said, "Ew, Mom, someone spat on me." Lucero retreated into the balcony. Efracia, hearing the commotion, also moved back a bit so as not to be seen. A couple of floors above, the local drunkard had gone out to the balcony to smoke. Since he was in the proper angle, the mother of the girl thought that it had been him. The crazed mother climbed out the stairs to give the poor bastard a serious talking to. Since it was the family motto not to stir the pot, Eduardo did not do or say anything to calm the angry lady. He only shook his head, making an unconvincing frowny face. Lucero grinned and said she had it coming. Eufrasio said, "You can't be mean to kids just because someone lent you their toys. I know that I'm not stupid, and you're not my father to be scolding me," so said Lucero, folding her arms. "Well, somebody has to," said Nina jokingly. By now, all of the visiting maidens had finished their sessions. This was one of the rare occasions that Lucero had allowed them to enter the house uninvited. She had been too preoccupied with her petty revenge quest to bother about the strangers visiting. Around 4 p.m. the siren sounded. Right on cue, it would make an ungodly noise for about 2 hours. After listening to it, Irina finally remembered why the family was so desperate to move. For the last 2 years, it had been making the same noise for 2 hours. Irina wondered if the government was trying to drive the locals crazy. Due to the noise, Irina's visitors decided to call her a day. It was far too annoying to try to have a conversation when the stupid siren was on. Since conversing was out of the question, Irina took the time to take a bath. Well, we'll continue with the story at another day. Bye-bye, venga.